Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kendall Tyson from Aspire Counseling and Wellness Center. And if you didn't know, April is National Stress Awareness Month. And so I kind of wanted to do a post today on this lovely Sunday. It's not raining right now. But what's the 411 on stress? As you can see, I'm in a different environment for this one. As I've stated before, being in nature really calms me down. And the research states that getting out in nature, getting that vitamin D, interacting with the outside is a great way to help minimize the effects of stress. And so I wanted to kind of practice what I preach again and do the posting from a beautiful setting in my parents' yard. So, stress, this dirty word, right? And before I even get into what the definition is, I'll just go ahead and say that not all stress is bad. There are stresses that we experience on a daily basis, such as a promotion or, an engagement, or you're moving to a new city. These types of things can be stressful, but they can lead to a positive outcome. It's when we experience things, potential financial stressors, the things that we're currently dealing with right now, the coronavirus pandemic, the prolonged social isolation, that can, go into more of a chronic type stress that really wears and tears on our body and our mental and physical health. So it's really important to know that if you are stressed out, which I imagine that we all are, we are experiencing a collective trauma in the coronavirus. But the good thing to remember, again, is that while we're having to be physically distant, we do not have to be socially isolated. And that we're all probably experiencing some type of stress throughout this ordeal. There are ways in which that we can deal with the stress that we're experiencing in a positive and a healthy manner. And then we'll talk about, ways in which to mitigate the effects of the stress that you may be experiencing. So let's get into it. What is stress? It's your body's reaction to any type of adjustment or response. And so the coronavirus, I want to say that in my Cardi B voice so bad. Dealing with the coronavirus pandemic has created this unanticipated level of stress that no one thought was going to happen. And the fact that we're inundated with so much on a daily basis can add to the stress that we're currently experiencing. So I know I've spoken previously about ways in which to mitigate the anxiety and the stress that you may feel. And I'll say it again. Number one is minimize your access to the news. You want to give yourself a time of day that you watch the news. You don't want to engage in it all day. And I would say that there are certain people that come on the news that you might not want to view if you know viewing is going to raise your level of anxiety and stress. So if you're feeling like feelings of being really tense and overwhelmed and irritated and just worn out or exhausted, you're probably stressed out, right? And it comes and goes unless you are noticing that it's persistent and that it's really causing you problems with being able to function on a daily basis. When you notice that it's becoming more chronic, more persistent, more pervasive, harder to get away from, those are markers that you may want to reach out to a mental health professional and seek some assistance with it. And I'll say this time and time again, there is nothing wrong with seeking help. We can all be strong, but the strongest of people know when they can't do it on their own any longer and they need to reach out for the help of a professional. And I'll say this too. One of the hallmarks or one of the features of people that are experiencing anxiety or depression or chronic stress is they struggle with reaching out for help. So if you have it on your heart to talk to someone, do it. They're probably needing that assistance, that type of connection in order to be able to manage the effects of what they're dealing with in order to cope more positively. So I kind of wanted to give you some tangibles of what to look for in a physical sense, an emotional sense, and potentially a behavioral sense. So behaviorally, what could chronic stress look like? It could look like, crying a lot. And you don't know what you're crying about. Arguing If you notice that you're just really set off by little things and you're frequently arguing, you could be stressed. In addition to other things, and withdrawal. Now, this what I'm listing. This is not a comprehensive list. These are just some things that I noticed, that I've noticed with students, that I've noticed with clients, that I noticed in myself, and through my research as well, and just literally the work that I do. And I would say that withdrawal is a big one, because we know that while we're all, well, most of us in regard are isolated to a degree, and that's helping to flatten the curve so that we don't have to continue to live in an isolated fashion. The withdrawal can be the dangerous part, because prolonged isolation and withdrawal can lead to depression, and other dangerous thoughts and behaviors, and that's definitely not something that we want to occur. So emotionally, if you are feeling, an uptick in your anxiety, if you're feeling fearful, if you're feeling really irritable, if you're worrying a lot, if you're having lots of ruminating thoughts and behaviors, yeah, I'll say thoughts, those are signs of stress, right? Just pay attention to it. And so physically, stress can manifest itself in ways such as you're having frequent headaches. Maybe you're having digestive issues. You either are sleeping too much or you're not sleeping enough. You're having elevated blood pressure, sexual dysfunction. You either are not eating or you're eating too much. I see lots of posts about, raiding the cabinet for your snacks and stuff. That stress eating is real. You're having racing heartbeat, teeth grinding. That's one that I struggle with. My dentist prescribed me or a what do you call it, a mouth guard, because when I'm really stressed, I grind my teeth and I wasn't aware that I was doing so. And potential weight loss and weight gain. So these are just a sampling of physical, emotional, and behavioral uh, symptoms to pay attention to that could clue you in to the fact that you could be experiencing some higher levels of stress than you normally would be. And again, I'll say it, everyone, literally everyone right now is experiencing higher levels of stress than we would previously have been experiencing, because again, we're all experiencing this collective trauma, and I'm pretty sure that we're all dealing with it in different ways. So I just wanted to offer you ways in which that you can incorporate, and you can always do your own research. That's going to allow you to better cope with what we're having to experience. Because although we're collectively experiencing it, the way in which we go through it on a day-to-day basis could be very different. So what are some of the protective factors against chronic stress? And some of them could potentially be, rehashing or reminiscing about positive experiences that you've had in your life. So one of mine would definitely be my solo trip to Bali. Like, I love Bali, Indonesia. I would love to be there right now, right? So just looking back through pictures or talking to friends about the experience that I've had, if we've gone to the same place, could really help to keep you in a positive frame of mind. If you've gone on family trips, this would be a good time to do your Zoom socials, your Zoom parties, your Zoom family dates, so that you all can just relive the fun and the excitement and the camaraderie and the calm that you experienced during these times. And that level of engagement is going to help elevate your mood and mitigate and minimize the stress that you could potentially be under. So, again, reliving the positive experiences that you've had at one point could be one protective factor against the damaging effects of stress. Another one would be incorporating healthy coping strategies. You will never hear me say this enough. Healthy coping is what we need to make a regular part of our self-care routine and our daily practice. So what could that look like? The deep breathing. I've done a video on that before. Incorporating the deep breathing into your morning routine, into your daily routine. You could do guided visualization. There are lots of videos on YouTube that you could watch that help you, that will walk you through a guided visualization, a guided imagery session. If you want to engage in meditation, guided meditation. There are apps such as Headspace that I'm a subscriber to that will walk you through different meditations, send you meditations on a daily basis, reading helpful things that are going to feed your mind, that's going to feed your imagination, kind of help you escape. Um, Always writing. Writing is always a great tool to bring about that particular type of catharsis that you're looking for. Different relaxation strategies, from progressive muscle relaxation, body scanning, mindful meditation, practicing mindfulness. I know I'm giving you a lot, and I can do different posts about other things, but there's just so much that you can do to minimize the damaging effects of stress. And as always, exercise, exercise, exercise. I tried to get out today and go exercise, and then it started to rain. And luckily, it's not raining now, or this wouldn't be happening. But then it started to rain, so hopefully, if nature is cooperative, I can get out and go do my walking later in the afternoon. But being creative. What do you like to do that's creative? Painting, writing music, writing poetry, drawing, adult coloring books are a lifesaver. I love those. Engaging in social connection. And we know that it's best to do that virtually right now. So texting your friends, FaceTiming your friends, your family, making sure that they're okay, doing things like that. And, as far as the healthy coping, therapy. Most providers are offering virtual therapy at this point in time because we all want to practice, do our best to practice the physical distancing while still being able to provide those needed mental health services. So if you are in need of a therapist, I can refer you to people. Again, there are lots of apps that you could go to. Some of the more reputable ones are going to be BetterHelp and Talkspace. Those are two that I hear about a lot. But again, if you're looking for resources, just reach out to me and I can definitely forward you to people that I know. Although I am a licensed therapist, I can provide therapy. I currently live in Beijing, so I don't have the apparatus set up right now to be able to offer you that, but I can definitely do consultation and coaching and refer you to some amazing mental health professionals in the city and in the state. And another protective, factor is your social network. And although being socially connected is a healthy coping strategy, identifying your social connections is extremely important. So, who are your supportive, keyword, supportive family and friends? Who are those people? I encourage you to make a list of those individuals that you reach out to for support, that provide you for support, that reach out to you to support you without asking. And I would say that right now, if you may be feeling some kind of way that folks haven't reached out to you, it's realizing that we are all experiencing this thing together. And I wouldn't judge my friendships on if someone I thought was my good friend has or has not reached out to me right now, right? Because if that's how you're feeling, maybe you reach out to them. Lots can be solved with communication. Making sure you take care of your financial health. There are lots of individuals that I follow on Instagram that are offering salient tips on how to manage your financial health right now, because that is a major stressor for people, especially with what we're having to contend with right now, with some people unfortunately losing their jobs, having job insecurity and things of that nature. I encourage you to identify ways in which you can get the type of support you need in a financial sense. Hopefully people have received their stimulus and are using it wisely to mitigate whatever negative financial issues that you may be incurring at the moment. Another is job satisfaction. When things were a bit more normal, having job satisfaction, loving what you did, was a way in which was a protective factor, right? To be involved in something that you're passionate about, that you feel you are able to make a difference. And right now, again, with some people experiencing job insecurity and some people not, what I am noticing, a silver lining, is that I am noticing that people are tapping into their creative, passions and aspirations and really going for the things that make them happy. They are expanding on that hobby or that side hustle. They're branching into new avenues. They're using the time to really dig deep and figure out, okay, so if I don't have this, what more can I do that's going to bring me the type of life that I'm looking for? And that is not to say that if you're not being productive in that sense, that your time isn't being used wisely. Sometimes we have to just be able to get through day by day. So I don't want you to judge what you're doing off of what someone else is doing. And as I tell you this, I tell myself the same thing. We all handle this situation differently. So if there's one day that you just need to sleep and exercise, and that's how you get through your day, that's okay, right? And then if there's another day that you're just creative, that's okay. That's okay too. Be kind to yourself. Practice that self-compassion. That's going to help minimize the stress that you may be under. And again, you don't have to do it alone. Reach out for support. Having healthy self-esteem and taking care of your mental health are going to go a long way to managing the damaging effects of stress. So, I don't want to belabor you on this post, but I'm going to give you a few tips. I want to say eight tips that's going to really help you to manage your stress. And so tip number one is identify your stressors. Identify the things that trigger you. What are they? And that's going to take some self-evaluation. Sit down and journal about it. What are the things that you notice set you off? For one of the things for me is just inconsiderate people that stress me out. And I know it's not necessarily a positive thing to be, overly affected by the behavior of others, but that is a trigger for me, right? So with some of the things that's happening in the world right now, with people not paying attention to physical distancing measures and some of the ill-informed protests that are happening, those things are triggering for me. So I know I have to minimize my intake of the news. And then I choose to connect with someone that helps to calm me down. Or I go walking, right? So I'm identifying those daily things that kind of set me off and that trigger me. And I'm creating a way in which, if it happens, what is a positive way that I can deal with it? And a lot of times it's just to walk away or go do something else. But if I'm unable to escape it, then I need to find something else, a different way of coping that's going to allow me to not be drawn into the negative effects of that trigger. So step number two is implement boundaries. That could be pretty hard, or challenging depending on where your boundary would best be placed right now. But if that means having physical boundaries in your home, implementing boundaries of what you will and will not talk about, what you choose to engage in and what you choose not to engage in, times of day that you choose to engage, having conversations with your loved ones and the people that you are, residing with, if you're not, if you're not living alone, will go a long way to keeping the communication lines open, to getting your needs met, to asserting what you need. So being able to be assertive about what it is that we need from our loved ones and our friends and family is going to go a long way in helping you to implement healthy boundaries. So number three, practicing regular self-care. And again, I've talked about this before. Self-care is anything that's going to help rejuvenate you and going to help you to cope better with the things that are happening. Something that's going to refresh you, not pull from you. That's self-care. So I can do a post later about how do you implement, what does a self-care plan even look like? It is a thing, right? When you are strategic about some of these things, such as a self-care plan or creating a self-care routine, it's easier to implement. You're not having to grasp at straws for what to do because you've been thoughtful about it and you've taken time to think about what is it that I really need to take care of myself and manage the stress that I'm experiencing. And that's going to include, again, identifying what even triggers me. So if I know this is something that triggers me, I know what I can do in a self-care sense, right? So creating and practicing that regular self-care plan. And with that, I'll just give you 3 things for sure. You want to make sure that you are sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night. You want to make sure you're exercising at least 30 minutes per day. And you want to make sure that you are protecting your thoughts, taking care of your mental health, noticing when you're triggered, your anxiety is triggered, or when your stress is rampant. Those are three key things you want to make sure that you do on a daily basis. So if you don't do anything else, sleep, exercise, and your mindset are going to be integral into making sure that you are functioning and coping in a healthy manner. So number 4, set SMART goals. SMART goals stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. And this is not something that you have to do in one day, right? You can take time to create SMART goals that are actionable, where you plan out the steps that you need to take. Give yourself deadlines to be able to get these things completed. And they can be about something that maybe you've wanted to do. Maybe if you're trying to write that book, set a SMART goal about that. Maybe if your goal is to exercise more, you can set a SMART goal for that as well. But it takes time and being intentional to getting things done. So for number 5, practicing self-compassion. What is self-compassion? It's literally being easy on yourself. You're not being overly critical. You are not being rigid. You are choosing to be flexible. You're being kind. You're being compassionate. You are being caring with yourself. You're taking care of yourself. You're putting yourself first. You are taking care of your needs. You are you're giving yourself the space to be human. And you're not imposing restrictions on yourself that would be hard to meet. Right now, if I need to sleep a little longer, that's being self-compassionate and not judging myself when I do. Right? So it's living your life in a non-judgmental sense, being kind to yourself. That's going to go a long way to helping to improve your mental health during this pandemic. And so for number 6, I've said this before, as a protective factor, seek social support. Reach out to people. If you are mired in stress and anxiety right now and you are struggling with reaching out, identify that one person that it's not that difficult for you to reach out to. Send them a text, FaceTime them, do something. But if you notice that you're beginning to withdraw, that is the time to do the opposite. So if your mind is telling you to withdraw, do the opposite. Reach out, right? Ooh, something just flew in my eye. If it could go wrong, it will go wrong, right? And so for number 7, seeking psychological support. I'm so sorry, you all. That was a bug. If anything could happen, it would happen, right? But it's knowing how do you take the setbacks that come and use it for your benefit. Seeking psychological support. I've said this before. You don't have to deal with it alone. You have people that care about you. If your mind is telling you that is not the case, combat that and reach out to people. Reach out to me, again, if you need help in identifying a mental health professional. There are ways in which to get the support that you need. I just need you to remember you're worthy, you're valuable, and you do not have to go through this alone. And the last step is practice radical acceptance. And that does not mean that you agree or you like it, but we have to accept the fact that there are things that's happening in the world right now that we can't change. So identifying what is in our locus of control, what can we control right now? I can control how I react to everything that happens to me. I may not be able to control the fact that I need to practice physical distancing, but the way that I practice physical distancing is within my control, right? The radical acceptance is identifying and realizing and accepting that I do not like this, but I can experience it in a way that's healthy and beneficial to not only myself, but to my family and to other people. We're literally beholden to our community right now. Staying at home and being physically distant is helping the collective community that we are a part of. And that's I think the good thing about what we're having to experience. It's not all fun, right? Life is not all fun, but how do we take what's happening and make the best of it? So with that, If you are experiencing symptoms of stress, just know that it's not the end of the world. There are ways in which to manage the stress that you're engaged in, that you might be feeling. There are people to reach out to. There are practices that you can begin to engage in today. Again, getting healthy sleep, exercising, and taking care of your mental health are going to be three great ways in which to minimize the stress that you're under. But again, I want you to identify your social support. Reach out to the people that you care about, that you trust, that have been there for you, right? And just remember, we are all in this together. We are not having to do this alone. So while we are physically distant, we do not have to remain socially disconnected. So, with that, I will sign off. As you know, you can reach out to me on my Facebook page, and I really appreciate the people that have reached out to me, sent me questions, asked for referrals on my Facebook page. I hope that your need has been met. If you know anyone that's looking for a coach or need of consultation, please send them my way. You can reach out to me. You can find me on YouTube. My YouTube page is Aspire Counseling and Wellness Center. You can find me on Instagram at Aspire Counseling Well. You can find me on Twitter at Aspire CWC. And my website is aspirecounselingwell.com. Please subscribe. It's free. I will be sending blog posts. I will do more videos. I love to engage with you in a way that lets you know that I'm here, that I want to support, that I want to offer help that I can, because this is therapeutic for me, right? Knowing that I can provide a level of support for you, and so that we can all get through this physical distancing but not social isolation together. I hope that you all enjoy this balmy Sunday. And just remember that your transformation begins today. You just have to act. Have a great Sunday, everyone. Bye.